Hey everyone, welcome back to the Above Board podcast. I am one of your hosts, John Kennedy, and we have a returning guest to the show today, Brandon Hatcher. What's up, buddy?
How are you, John? It's been a minute.
It has. We were just talking about this in our pre-call. I was looking at the last podcast we did. It was on June 10th. But, it was a long summer. We got to spend time with the kids. So what have you been up to?
Oh, same. I mean, I can't believe it because when you said June 10th, I was thinking, oh, that was like a week ago, a couple weeks, right? And my kids just went back to school yesterday. So, it's August 3rd. Now, I know my kids go back to school kind of early, so our summer is a little bit condensed, but summer every year surprises me with exactly how short and how long it is at the exact same time, because it just feels like a whirlwind. It's like school's out, you get your vacations in, then it's the 4th of July, and then it's all the graduation parties, and then it's just one thing after another. And next thing you know, hey, school starting, let's get back to school. And it's just flies by every year. And
I enjoy the seasonality of it.
Mm-hmm.
When summer begins, I'm so ready for it. I'm so ready to stop with the routine. We got late night practices for sports and then getting up early for school. I'm just so ready for that to change. And then a couple months go by and then I'm so ready for that routine to come back. It's actually nice. It allows me to miss it, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a great point.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Podcast is done. Minute and 45 seconds in. We've made our point. We're good to go. No, but okay. So this is a good topic actually that we're talking about school and this is Brandon's inspiration and idea. And so I loved this idea of just thinking about what are the things. Actually, I'm going to butcher it. Why don't you tell me what we're talking about today?
Well, what I thought we would talk about is the topic of schools back. And if you were to go back to school with all of our infinite wisdom, now that we're a little bit older, I mean, John, you and I are both similar ages. We're almost 40. We have school age kids. And I was thinking just walking my kids to class, which this is my last year walking my middle daughter to her classroom, because next year she goes to middle school. So I can't walk her in anymore when she does that. But I was just thinking, if I were to go back in school, what would I take seriously? And what would maybe here's another topic. What would I hope is better or different about what either I didn't get out of school or just maybe wasn't there. So I thought that'd be a fun topic for today, because we all have kids and we all have things we wish we would have learned. And here's the cool thing is we can keep learning. We don't have to be in school to learn something. So I thought it'd be a fun topic for today.
Yeah. So how should we tackle that? Because there's things that initially come up for me. The last podcast that we did was titled Financial Mediocrity is Expensive. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's just I always I think in our industry, you hear this too a lot from folks. Well, I just don't understand that. This doesn't make I'm not good at math. I'm not good at money. And then that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And the more you avoid something, the more you just kind of ensure that you're definitely not good at this thing and it's going to be a problem for you. And no one can afford that, because we all have to, you don't have to be certified financial planners and financial advisors, but you do have to kind of know how to use your money and be good stewards of it. So I just don't think it's a good excuse to say I'm not good with money. So for me, I think I go to financial literacy. And from what I understand, it does seem like it's maybe more prevalent today. I was talking to somebody. Oh, I know who I was talking to about this. It was the Rich B's son he's going to be a senior this year. And yes, shout out to Luke. Luke's going to be a senior this year. And he job shadowed us a couple weeks ago in the office. He did amazing, by the way. It was a lot of fun to have him in with us. And he said that he's got a financial class, an investing class. So I know that it's happening. I didn't get to do that until college. So he's doing that as a senior. So I guess it's a little better. But I mean, I think it should be even sooner than that. But I never had that, right? I didn't, I came out of school and I'm I don't know how to do taxes. I need to learn how to do this. So that's kind of where my brain goes. But you wanted to segment this out into stages, I think, right?
I did, and I think it's an easy transition because, like you were in the last podcast, we can't let I'm just not good at something be our excuse. Our excuse can't be the reason why we don't do something that we know is going to move our lives forward. It would be like if you were in poor health and you said, well, I just don't really know how to work out, so I'm just not going to work out or eat healthy or fill in the blank with whatever healthy exercise. And I don't just mean physical exercise, but mental exercise that's going to improve my life. Right. So it's something similar. So like if we were to take it in phases, so my thought was this, like if you were to go back to school in, let's say, elementary school, middle school, high school, what would you want? What would you take more seriously, I would say? And what would you think would be, could be provided from the institution so that, this is what kids really need to be functional. And I think that's the point. I mean, to me, that's the point of education, is that we become not just smarter, but functional members of society. And dude, finances, I mean, maybe it's because that's our industry, but I think finances are so important because if you don't have good finances, everything else just gets harder. Everything. So, being financially sound, and we know people make a lot of money who are financially miserable, and we know people who make a modest amount of money who are financially very happy. And
Yeah.
I think it does start early, and we can be that you can be that spark early on. So yeah, want to dive into it?
Yeah, sure. I mean,
All
certainly
right.
I don't think shoving memorization facts down everyone's throat is the right. I mean, I just, in the world today that we're in, it's like I remember being a kid and that was always the joke in math class was you're not going to have a calculator when you're at the grocery store. You're not going to
Mm-hmm.
have a calculator when you're at the restaurant. You need to know. And then it's like, yes, of course I do now. I
Yeah,
walk
you got this
around
thing.
with, I walk around with something that has more computing power than my computer had when I was in high school. And that was
All
like a
right.
big desktop tower computer, right? You go ahead.
Right. Yeah, well, okay, so you got your backpack on, John. You're going into your elementary school class. I got mine on too. Or sit down. Like, what would you want to get more out of? Is it math? I know we've talked about this. Would using
So yeah, I guess I don't think, and going into the world that we're in today with AI and access to information, I mean, all the time now, like my kids, I don't want to say it too loud because everyone's will go off, but like they'll say, "Hey,
Mhm.
Alexa," and then like ask it a question. And that's just the information's at our fingertips now in a way that was different. It was different, when we were kids. And so I don't know. I guess there's some good things about what the school system teaches as far as okay, there's like discipline there. Like kids have to study, they have to learn, they have to those like the rubric of like what a school classroom is good. But I mean, I would say even in elementary school, something is in regards to like you could teach even at that young of an age, like I do these lessons all the time with my kids, like investing principles, and like we did a little like business this summer. The kids had it was I called it like the new age lemonade stand, but like farmers market pop up tent. And we sold squishies and sold stuff and raised money for my daughter's softball team. Like
I
I
love
just want to
that.
see stuff like that incorporated, like things that are maybe more. I don't even know what I'm trying to reach for.
Like
Just more
entrepreneurial.
tangible. Yeah, yeah, I guess entrepreneurial, but like in that example, like they're learning math, they're learning
Mhm.
communication skills, they're learning sales, they're learning how to market themselves. Like there's so many things that are learned beyond just math or beyond, writing in English. Anyway, I don't know, like maybe something like that, something more experiential. I think in
Like a
elementary
case
school is
study.
important. Like when I was
Yeah.
when I was in elementary school, it was like you would do like a book report and then you'd have to present it. And presenting it was like reading it word for word. And I was
Yeah.
nervous, just holding my paper, shaking. But there's got to be a
Couldn't
new
read your writing.
evolution of that. Yeah, yeah. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I would say something more experiential at that age. That I'd love to see that. And I think
Yes.
I would benefit from that. I was a nervous speaker and a nervous kid up until even past college. Like it took
Mhm.
me a long time to get comfortable. I still get nervous, but what about you?
Yeah. I would say that number one, that makes a lot of sense. It's that practical skills. It's the people skills, how to have a conversation, how to negotiate, um, how money works, how it flows, what you need, because then it makes everything you're learning real. Because it's like, hey, you're not gonna have a calculator in life. And it's kind of true though. I mean, you can just ask AI to do something for you, or ask the A word to calculate something for you. But in that moment, you don't want to bust out your calculator or your phone and just be like, well, how do I add a tip? Like, I remember when I
Yeah.
found the trick to a tip is you just move the decimal point one back, and that's 10%, and then you can multiply from there. And I'm like, oh, so that makes math easy when I'm leaving a tip. So that's cool. I think those are practical skills that helped me out a lot. But also, I would say for me is I wasn't a very strong reader naturally. So I kind of use that as my excuse. I would say, like you were saying before. And I didn't really get good at reading until a long time later. Like it really
Mm.
stunted my development because I was just like nervous to read. We did popcorn reading a lot. Do you remember that? Like where you'd read out loud and then you'd say popcorn and you'd pick
Oh,
someone.
I
It's like
do. I
it's like
do.
public humiliation. Like, yeah, as a third
Well, when
grader
I was
trying
a
to read these
kid,
books.
I remember they didn't do it was like the teacher would like you knew when your turn was coming, and then
Yeah.
I would go ahead and try to figure out what paragraph or passage I would read and then
Yep.
pre-read it. Did you ever do
Yep.
that?
All the time. And then it
Yeah.
would be like my math would be wrong. Like I would go the wrong direction or something. That was always fun. So yeah. So here's what I did, interestingly, is I read out loud to my children every night. So that has helped me become a better reader. And number two is when I was teaching my middle daughter how to read, I made her read out loud to me every night, and there was no judgment. And
Mm.
there was a few, like early on it was tough. I mean, and now she reads so much. Now the kids are really into graphic novels, and as a fifth grader, like graphic novels are not a challenge for her. And I don't really care. I kind of want her to read things that she's interested in so that she's always reading something. Now she can read more complex books later, but like I wish I would have enjoyed reading more. I remember I read like I think it was a Jules Verne story. I can't remember the name of it now, but it's like the one where aliens come down and like they attack Earth, but then we can't fight them back, but then they're susceptible to like some of our diseases, and they all die. And it was during like an FCAT test, and I was like, who is this author? And it turned out I'm pretty sure that's like a Jules Verne like novel. And I ended up reading like Journey to the Center of the Earth, 100,000 Leagues Under the Sea, but it was like the kid version of it, and I didn't
Mm.
even care. I was just really enjoyed these books, and it took so long. I was in like fourth grade when I discovered these, and I was like, and I think they were made for like second or third graders. And I remember feeling like embarrassed that I checked out this book in the library, but I mean, I read them at home and I read them right away. And I was just like, I didn't not enjoy reading and I didn't not enjoy stories. I was just maybe overwhelmed at the beginning. And, I think that the joy of reading literacy is probably one of the most important things that's going to carry you on for life. No matter how smart computers get, we still need to be smart enough to like comprehend to some degree. They can't
I
read
would
for
say
you.
also, like, as I was hearing you answer that, I was thinking about, for me, I was thinking about a different language. Like I was kind of
Mm,
reflecting on, like, I wish I took Spanish in high school, but by high school,
right.
I don't know, the part of my brain that wasn't like that had already developed that probably needed to learn these things when I was still developing at like a younger age. I think that would have benefited me a lot. Because even
Yeah.
now, like when my kids were, they're still little, but when they were, a few summers ago, I was like, oh, Ella and I are going to do this like Duolingo every day during the summer. And it faded maybe 3 weeks in. But I was like truly learning at her level, even though I've taken 2 years of Spanish in high school, I've like forgotten all of it.
For
And I
sure.
feel like by high school age, it should be like reinforcing all the things that you've learned for the last 10 years in a
Mm.
different language. So anyway, that'd be another thing if I could go back. So as I was hearing, I was kind of reflecting on your answer with reading, and I thought the same thing, but about a different language.
Yeah. Man, that's a good point. That is a good point. And I think those, like, just those things, I think would carry you through middle school.
Yes.
Um, and I know we talked before this a little bit. Let's call it the pre-call, but I really liked what you were saying too, moving into like more high school time. So like if elementary school, at least in our school district, they have this like structure where they're like elementary is about learning how the child develops, like how their brain functions for learning. Then middle school is very much about testing and quizzing and knowledge. High school is like getting them ready to become adults. And I thought that was an interesting way. I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. Like middle schools can be can be a little tough because they really try to shove a lot of information into them about sentence structures and kind of these things. But then high school kind of moves on to, okay, you're going to be graduating and off on your own. A lot of these kids will be in the next 4 years. Let's give them the rest of what they need to know to develop. So I think that would be interesting. Like what, from your point of view, what other skills like in middle high school time frame do you think you would have either like classes you would have taken or even like what could have been offered?
I think this is an answer for both me and what I would hope to see like schools do more and more of. But I would say like shop class. Like
Mm-hmm.
just like we were talking about this, just life skills in general. I think continuing down I don't even know if I took that in high school. I took it in middle school, I feel like. I
Yeah.
took a shop class in middle school and I loved it. But then that was it. It wasn't like continually offered. I think that's so great. And
Right.
so like that I would say
How to
is a
build
really great.
basic stuff. Everyone builds furniture,
Sure.
right? You need to know how to like screw something in. Like, where do you learn that if it's not your parents, right?
Yes.
And
Yes. And that's what I mean. Like it's not like I don't know, like I scroll I don't know what your Instagram reels look like. Mine is like scrolling through just really awesome home renovations and I'm like, man, I wish I could do any of that stuff myself. It's like it's
yeah,
really neat. But yeah, I think that it doesn't need to be at that level, right? Like it could just be like you said, like basic life stuff, like knowing how to put something together. And then I would also say psychology, right? Like I don't know, just how to understand. I don't know. I just think about it would have been good as a younger adult, like high school age, becoming an adult, to maybe understand myself a little bit better. I think
mm,
psychology would have been a good one to learn sooner.
I love that. I love that.
Thanks.
I think. I mean, how many existential crises do you go through as just like a young adult, And it's like just having that sense of identity and knowing that like what you're going through is unique, but not so unique. You're not the only one going through stuff. Like just
Yeah.
having that realization of, you know, it's not all about me, but also it's important that I move forward in some purposeful way. I I don't know when I learned that. I mean, I'm thinking back, like what I think I was it was nice. I took a shop class. Took woodworking. It was probably my favorite class. It was the first class of the day, and I was always on time. Like it's kind of funny. It's like I was never late to school because I would miss shop class. And I love shop class. Like I loved it. Like it was so much fun. We'd make our things and yada yada yada. And then at the end you'd have a birdhouse or something and I gave it to my mom for Mother's Day. Like it was a great experience and I use those skills to today. Like I know and I'm not afraid of a table saw because I used a table saw all the time and it doesn't scare me. Same thing with a router, same thing with like, a planer. Just all these things that you don't have access to. I mean, this is a $5,000 piece of equipment just for doing one thing, cutting down wood,
Yeah.
and it's like I think shop class is a great example. I think for
Yeah.
me, I wish I would have taken welding too, like metalwork, because I am one of those people that I have no idea how to fasten metal together. And I think it's cool watching fabricators do their thing. Again, I'm not going to go buy a welder and start welding metal together. Be like, honey, look what I made today. But
If we had a school, it would be the highest. The cost to insure our school would be through the roof. We'd have like our school would be focused on welding, shop class, young entrepreneurs. Like I don't know.
yeah, sounds like
Maybe
fun.
I'm. Yeah, it does sound
Therapy,
like fun.
some
Yeah. Yeah.
therapy classes,
Exactly.
some or
Yeah. I'm
psychology
just
classes.
picturing like a huge welding class where I'm like, man, the cost of machinery and insurance and injury and risk.
Well, like my dad used to tell me how they'd take a car shop class, they learn how to change oil and like fix stuff and like I mean, I don't know. YouTube I guess is there for that, but you still need like a basic like a sandbox if you will of here's how wires go together and here's how basic circuitry works and here's plumbing, water runs here to there, or whatever. Like these are all like practical skills that I think would benefit you. But probably the most practical one that I'm thinking of is finances. Like
Mm.
I wish financial literacy was part of the fabric of at least high school. Like, I think it could be taught way earlier, like you were saying with your example of like just setting up like a new age farmers market, lemonade stand sort of thing where you have some economy and cash flow and investment into your product and yada yada yada. But I think that is huge is financial literacy. And I think every teacher should take that financial literacy class because I think that's the only way it could work is like everything you do has some sort of here's the bigger picture. Here's why this is important. But also, when you're managing your life, it's important to have your finances in order. And maybe it's just one class, maybe it's a curriculum. I don't know. But I do think I do think that's something that's missing a little bit. And not just like investing. I think it's also just managing your budget. Like,
Hmm.
your budget is the first thing you do with our e-course is you learn about your cash flow. What are you going to do the rest of your
What a
life,
missed
kid?
opportunity for a math class, though. I'm sorry to interrupt, but like, what a missed
Yeah.
opportunity for a math class not to just be like, let's show you how to balance a budget
Hmm.
and teach you why that's important. And then in that whole thing, you're doing basic arithmetic, right? Like, it's not like but it's a lot of addition and subtraction, which would be great. It would be great because it's like a very tangible reason to need to know arithmetic. I just don't understand. Yeah, I agree with you. And I think it could be like leveled, like you could be teaching this stuff in elementary school and then you could continue to kind of like advance it along the way instead of like we were talking about with Luke. Great. He's got a like my first personal finance course wasn't until college. His is it's better because it's at least he's a senior in high school and he's learning it. But like, why isn't that being taught in like sixth grade? I don't know. I mean, I think yes, you don't need to teach the basics of how to like do your taxes and do a 1040 in sixth grade, but like maybe like an
How
economics course
taxation
that's like
works.
yeah, not like a macroeconomics course, but like how taxation works, what that is, why that exists. What like I feel like those basic principles would be pretty good. But on all of this, I'm thinking about as you pose the question, what would you want to go back and learn? But then I'm also just as we're 20 plus minutes into this dialogue, now I'm just thinking like this is the importance and the role of a parent because you're gonna miss like these things are not taught unless we create our own school that has its own welding class and shop class and finance class and personal psychology class and second language class and all that stuff. But like
Entrepreneurial class.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So, but these things that school system falls short of it, and that's okay. I mean, that's what it is. It's the world we live in. Maybe it should be better, but I don't know. Now I'm just thinking like, oh, this is the importance of. Now I'm thinking like every summer, it'd be kind of cool if the school was like, hey, one of your requirements for the summer going into the next grade is to do some type of like experiential learning, basic entrepreneurial thing.
Ooh,
Sell a
yeah.
widget, provide a service, go pull weeds, go
Right.
go sell something at a farmer's market, create something on Canva and whatever. But we can do it as parents. We can provide those
Yeah.
opportunities, which is cool.
Yeah. I think that is something that the parents have taken on. I worry too though that maybe parents don't know. Maybe parents find it important, but maybe they don't know how to teach it. There's just something they eventually learned. So it's intentionality. We can't let that be an excuse to the earlier
Hmm.
point, but it's so important that we're teaching our kids these basic things. And I think sometimes we shelter our children too much to say, like, I don't want to include my children in the financial topics because I want them to just be kids. And I do think that's true. But I do think there becomes a time and place, at least fictitiously, we can say, hey, if you made $100 a week, what would you do with that $100, $400 ish a month? Like tell me how you would spend that money. What would you spend it on? Would you save any of it? What would you be saving up for? Is there a tax? Like, what about rent? What about food? I don't know. Like, I think that could help. I was also thinking too, like, we test on so many things. Why couldn't we do a budget test? Like a budget test
Yeah,
and every level. Like, it's so easy. I make
I
this
know.
much. How much at a 12% tax rate? You can make a tax problem out of it. What would my tax rate be? What should my save rate be? What should my, whatever it is, if I only want to spend 25% on my housing, X percent on my clothing and X percent on this, what's my leftover? And, what do I have to work with? What would you do? And that's it. It could be a little bit of math and then like a written answer on some questions. And I think we should test on it. I really do. It wouldn't take long, and it would teach functionality.
Yeah,
Changing
couple
the system,
things.
John.
I agree. There's a family that I know that I thought this was so smart and funny at the same time. But so the kids all do either baseball or softball, and what they told their kids was that their class, like their school, actually requires them to play a sport. And
They
it
just told her
didn't,
this.
that it didn't. But like I thought, man, that is great, because they're like, you have to pick sport, pick whatever sport you want. You can play tennis, you can play basketball, you can play softball, but whatever it is, like your school requires that you do this. And I talk a lot about this. And Luke, if you're listening to this podcast, I hope you are. But like, I joked with him a lot over the week that he was with us about like, you have to impose discipline on yourself. And I think our responsibility as a parent is to impose discipline on your children. They don't know how to do it yet. Like my kids are young. Like they know how to hold themselves accountable and be good, honest humans, I hope. And that's what I'm trying to raise. But like they don't necessarily know how to go without you. You're at this age where like instant gratification, right? And so
Yep.
I'm like, what a good example of like parents imposing discipline. Like, yeah, you have to do this, so you might as well make the best of it, pick the thing you want to do, and then let's like go full send on it and do it and try it. Do your best. And back to the analogy, so of earlier this summer where my kids did the farmer's market. We did a pop-up tent and sold stuff. So we did what you were describing with the budget. It was like, okay, we're going to go through what your what your profits were, like what your gross revenue was, what your expenses are, what your net profit is. And then from there, you're going to pay back mom and dad for the expenses, because we fronted the expenses to you. And then after that, with your net profit, then we're going to give, save, spend bucket. And so they had this spend bucket. And then we went to the farmer's market this weekend, and like just the most reckless abandon of spending of the money that they had to spend. I mean, within minutes, it was like, there's like 17 3D printed stations now at this farmer's market. Cause like, it's
Yeah.
like people are selling squishies and 3D printed things. And these are the very popular things that kids want
Slime.
right now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just can't, another 3D print, another squishy. And so both of my kids, I like looked at them. I'm like, is that really what you want? They're like, yeah, it's really what I want. And they had a little bit of money left over to spend. And then they got to go to the next place. And they're like looking at new 3D printed things and new squishies. And I was like, you know what? I'm imposing discipline on you. Like you're not spending that on that. Like you can spend here, you can spend the rest of your money here, but like we're not buying more. I'm like, why, Dad? Why? I was like, because sometimes my job is to impose discipline on you. And then when we got home, and I went and like in their toy stuff, and I like pulled out all of the squishies that's what Ella's collecting right now, and then I pull out all the 3D printed stuff, and I'm like, how much more do you need of these things? Anyway, this is like a funny little tangent, but I was like, I'm imposing discipline right now. We're not spending,
Yeah.
we're not just like wasting money. And even in that lesson, I'm like, let's be mindful of what we're spending that we can spend. We're not just gonna like spend with reckless abandon because you have the money to spend, So anyway, that's a tangent.
Yeah. I mean, that's our kids, man. I don't think they have that wisdom factor yet. They don't understand what the future really holds. And if I just would have saved that couple $100, I could have bought like a really cool Lego kit.
I've tried to
Braden
explain
right now.
this. I've tried to explain this, and it is hard to land. But I remember being in high school, and I remember my teacher, Mr. McCulley, in 10th grade,
Shout out.
talking. Yeah, I don't. Yeah. He's like definitely doesn't listen to this podcast. But if you do, shout out Mr. McCulley. Thank you for listening. But I remember I was in 10th grade. He was like the government economic or history teacher or whatever, but he would talk a lot about these life principles. He was really good at that. He was really good at like weaving those things in. And I think that's what you're back to what you were talking about before. I was like training teachers on this stuff because he was gifted at like weaving these topics in that mattered. And he would talk about saving and how if you save, the money can turn into more money and it grows at this rate. And then, by 30, you could have this much if you saved $100 a month. And by 50, it would be this much. And I remember my mind being blown. Like I didn't even understand it yet at that point in time. And so like it's so important to be teaching those things.
Mhm. Absolutely. I think that is so important. Like, I mean, invested money, I mean, time factor. If you would have invested that for the last 18 years, you'd have this much, and then you're just so much further ahead. And, I guess we do that for our kids. We save them money. But, something as you were talking, I was like, we should also look at that with time. We can always make more money. We can't necessarily make more time. And I've been doing this workout class with like my daughter. So basically, she's in an athletic training class. She's 10. And I have her on the off season just doing a speed agility, and then they work out with the kids. And the nice thing is if there's not a lot of people there, they let me work out too. So I don't necessarily
Does
work
she
out
like
with
it? Does she like doing it?
she half likes it. Like she likes it, but I don't think she quite understands the importance of why we're doing it. Because when we started, I was like, well, we're going to do a class, and the whole point is to get faster and stronger. And she's like, I'm already fast. I'm already one of the fastest kids on my team. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. But, we could become better. And she's like, I'm already one of the strongest. Look how strong I am. And I'm like, well, yeah, honey, but that's also not the point. The point is to like practice, get better, get good. And I was doing a terrible job at explaining this. And I was like, it's like an investment in your body and your mind and doing something hard. And even the last week, she was like, man, I wish you could walk a mile in my shoes while I'm working out. And I'm like, because she was like struggling. She had just come back from like a whole day at this amusement park that for summer camp. And here we do a workout class. And I said, I know it's going to be hard. I just want you to keep going. Don't stop. Just keep going. It doesn't have to be the best workout. It just needs to be, you just don't stop. Don't give up. And I was talking, like, how did it go? How was this? And she's like, I mean, I just wish you could walk a mile in my shoes. I'm like,
She
Cassidy,
actually said
like,
that. I wish
she
you could
did.
walk a mile in my shoes.
I
That's
did.
cool.
I'm
That's
like,
funny.
Cassidy, one, I think that's great that you have that. But two, when I come back from a workout, am I usually like really sweaty? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, I work out pretty hard. Like when I work out, I really go at it hard. And the reason why is because I'm trying to get in better shape. And I'm trying to develop a love for investing in your body, with the food you eat, with your nutrition, with the time you spend, like the amount of brain rot I try to eliminate for my kids. Same thing with spending money. How do we spend our time? I think is so important too. So, I mean, discipline, and the want to, have some freedom, but also some liberties, but also like get to work, spend your money well, spend some time on physical activity, develop the love of training, doing something that's kind of hard. The first time you learn how to do anything is kind of rough, but it's important. So
Talk about
that's all.
imposing discipline on your kids. That's a good one. That's a good example. And I do think it parlays well to the finance stuff. Like I always love fitness analogies for that very reason. Like, because it's also about developing the habit and the skill set. And I don't know, like I almost have this like weird relationship of like almost like a joyful one of being able to be like go without a little bit, like sacrificial of like I'm going to save this instead of spending this right now. And I think that was developed and learned and built. I didn't just like innately have that. No one does.
Mhm.
Like think about, I was just talking about with my kids, like they just went and they're like, let's spend it all. Like every dime I have to spend today, I need to spend it all. I'm like, no, you don't have to. Like you don't have to do that. And I think we're all kind of wired that way initially, and then we learn and we develop and we grow. So, Brandon, we don't have, we can't build our own school. Actually, I don't say we can't. We can do anything, but we're not going to probably build our own school. But we do have our own e-course, which I
We
think
do.
does work on the development and the imposed discipline of saving and budgeting, like learning these basic things, which, by the way, it wasn't and isn't designed for like children, but I do think, especially like high school age, like could absolutely go through that and probably
100%.
would. Because I don't know about you, but like I'm finding more and more clients are coming. Like a month ago, I had a client come in with her grandson, who's, I don't, maybe he was like a sophomore in high school, and just wanted to ask me questions like, what's a mutual fund, what's a stock, like, and go through all that stuff. And our course does all of that too. And shout out Brandon, he's making his own e-course
I
soon,
am.
his own version of this, which would be cool. But any thoughts on that? I mean, I think that's, and for the people that are listening to this, like, what's he talking about? It's yourmoneystory.app. It's, of course, it's free. It's, I don't know, 5 hours tops of,
Tops, yeah.
that
I
you
mean,
can
that's
do
with the
over the
work.
course of a couple weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
homework. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would say just going through that course, I think what it does is it changes the mindset of the three F's. You know, your fixed cost, your future. Focus on those two, fixed and future, and then all you have to worry about is flexible spending. You know, and
Mhm.
everything that goes into that. And I think if it is truly a third, a third, a third, you know, we think about our budget as like this huge thing that we have to figure out. Well, if you have a fixed and a future, all you're worried about is that other third. And that is so relieving, right? It's so freeing. And if you automatize your savings, especially if you're employed somewhere where you have a 401k, where you can do a split paycheck, where you can have some of your money go to another savings account that you don't touch, you basically can say, if I can live off this flexible amount that I'm giving myself, and then when it runs out, it just runs out. Kind of like when you had cash back in the day and you ran out of cash, you were just out of cash.
Mm.
So I love that it does that. So that's my shout out for that course. I do think it makes life, it actually makes it quite a bit simpler. And you don't have to do that forever. I could say you could, but I think if you did it for a while, got used to that style, I think it would be freeing. And as advisors, we're trying to get to that 20% save rate so hard. Like if we can get to 20% and do that for 15, 20 years, your whole life changes. And as long as we're good about investing, like the other part of it too is like, here what I mean. You can't just put it into like a savings account. You also have to invest part of it, right? That is important. We need emergency cash, but just we also need to grow our money. We shouldn't grow it all. We shouldn't save it all, right? We should also grow some of it. So it's very important to have that mindset and just set it up, let it go, do its thing, compound interest, and it's there. And it's it's awesome to see. And it takes a little while and it feels like you're swimming upstream, but eventually you're kind of swimming down and you're moving with the current, and it happens faster than you think. And it takes away that stress, that anxiety, and it lets you be more present. So shout out to the course. I think it's great. I will be re-recording it just with new lighting and visuals and everything. So, but I mean, it's
No,
6
now
years
I'm
old.
feeling inspired to do like a kid's version of it.
I think
Like,
we could
I'm
do
not
that.
saying that you have to do it, but like I'm feel it's like Blippy style, but
Do you want
for
suspenders
finances.
and a funny hat?
Right, right. Well,
Oh
when we
yeah,
were originally, because this was Brandon, this was obviously, I love this conversation. This was your idea, so props to you. Thanks for thinking of this one. But originally, what you floated out was like just things we wish we learned. Kids are going back to
yeah.
school, like let's just talk about things we wish we learned. And now that we've come full circle, we're 40 minutes into this conversation, and I'm thinking that I bet if I polled everybody listening to this, that the answer probably of things that we wish we learned younger probably would have been a lot of like financial topics, investing principles, how to write a check, how to do your taxes, how to balance a net worth statement, like how to. I bet you that many people that are listening to this, when they think about what they wish they would have learned, it's that. And not to self promote it, but I mean that is quite literally the reason for this course that we developed.
Hmm.
It's for that. And I think the nice thing is it's such a gift to give like the next generation too. Like if you're listening to this and you're like in the retirement phase of life and you're thinking about your adult kids that are, I don't know, anywhere from high school to 20, 30 years old, that like there's always more to learn. Like the fitness analogy you just used, Brandon, it's like when you're talking with your daughter and you're like, I come back in super sweaty from working out because I'm working hard because I'm trying to develop and condition and get better and then like grow a love for like fitness and personal health and all that stuff. It's like it's never too late to start and learn those things, even if we wish we had learned it 20 years ago. There's so much to learn when it comes to the world of saving, budgeting, investing, and that was the inspiration for why we did that. Originally it was we wanted something that could just be like something someone could go grab and go like, yeah, like, all right, like walk me through these things. And it's not just a course that you walk through and you're done. It's like you're doing these exercises along the way. You've got homework, you've got a little bit of engagement to really let it stick. So anyway, props to you, Brandon. This is a good topic. Good one, buddy.
Thank you. Back to school, baby. We'll get some learning out of it and, become better. So I think that's what we all want. We want our kids to be a little bit better than we are. And, how do we pass that forward? Is it finances? Sure. But let's pass that knowledge, that wisdom, and let's create a slightly better world for our kids. And hopefully they do the same for their kids. And what a wonderful world to live in when everyone's doing that. So.
Amen, brother.
It's a good topic.
I like that. Well, as we're wrapping up today, a couple things. Obviously, number one, like this is doing this podcast is like a love language for me. Like it's just fun to come on here and like talk about these things. A lot of times we talk about stuff that comes up in client meetings. A lot of times we just talk about different things internally as we're building a company and focused on growth or life. Like there's just so much. Like I feel like this entire podcast has just turned into these just fun conversations about life that we're experiencing. And so apologies that it took us 2 months to get back to it. I think that I had dinner with Rich and his family a few weeks ago, and he's like, man, can we get back to recording these things? So he's excited to come back and maybe do 2 or 3 times a month in recording. Talk to Matt as well. He's excited to come back, or we're pulling him back in to record podcasts with us from time to time. And now, Brandon's joining me as a spot guest, which is kind of fun, dude. So thanks for hanging with me. And we love doing these episodes. So for the folks that listen, thanks for hanging with us. Sorry it took us 2 months to get back to it, but we're ready to jump back into our weekly cadence of the Above Board podcast. And as always, like, share, comment, but definitely, if you prefer to watch these instead of listen, check us out on YouTube. You can go to theaboveboardpodcast.com, get all of our episodes there. And until next time, we will see you. Next time I record this, Brandon, my kids will be starting school. So that'll be exciting.
There you go. Love it.
Yep. All right, guys. Have a good week. We'll see ya.
See ya.